Let the meltdown begin. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing, triple threat style, as we've got all our favorites on the program this evening. Mark Bocek returns to MMA Meltdown like he will return to the Octagon on April the 16th against Evan Dunham. We always love breaking it down with the Fight Network's own Robin Black, who will join me in studio. We'll talk about how much longer Ronda Rousey can avoid fighting Cyborg Santos. The premier combat sport odds maker in the business, Joey Odessa, will join me from Costa Rica. We've got some kick-ass videos of the week. All that and more on tonight's MMA Meltdown. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. We welcome back a friend of the program, Mark Bocek, who joins us from Montreal, Quebec, as he prepares for his return to the Octagon April the 16th against Evan Dunham. And anyone that's watched Evan Dunham fight over the past couple of years knows that a fight of the night is often in the works, or excuse us, a performance of the night is often in the works. Mark Bocek steps up and in. Mark, it's always a pleasure, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
You know what? I'm excited for you, Mark. I know it's been a long time coming. Ultimately, when we add it all up, is it what's going to be? About a year and a half, 16, 17 months?
Yeah, just a little over a year, yeah.
Man, that's
wow.
Yeah, that's quite the haul. As far as ring rust is concerned, we often hear ring rust is real. Is that a concern for you at all?
I mean, it's in the back of my mind, but I've dealt with it before. Just trying to make the training really hard, and we do these types of match type of scenarios, kind of like like let's say the type Cormier would talk about. It can affect some people, but just as fighting on short notice is unadvisable to some. Some people are used to it, and it works well for them as well. Generally, I didn't want to be out this long, but I didn't have a choice. So I'm just going to have to deal with it. That's the reality. But I don't think it'll be an issue.
In this industry, we have a hard time remembering fights that happened a couple of days ago. It's a business of out of sight, out of mind. You've been out for a little while right now, but on the positive side of this, Evan Dunham is a guy that comes to fight, likes to brawl right now, and is a name fighter. No disrespect to the opponent you were supposed to have last time in Probzeris, but I remember talking to you about this, and it's kind of a weird spot for you. You fought in the top guys in your division, then you're getting this tough Brazilian guy that nobody really knows about. Not really a win. It's a no-win situation for if you would have won. You should have beaten him anyway. And if you lose, then it's a big deal. But getting a fight like Evan Dunham, one of the top guys in the division, a tough guy, and a fight that everyone's going to be talking about. So it's a pretty strong opponent for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different for sure. He's named. He's tough. I don't think I've ever seen him in a fight where he wasn't willing to put it on the line.
With Evan too, he's got the wrestling background, but it seems like he's merged into more of a brawler. Is that better when you're stepping in to the Octagon and sort of knowing, this guy's not really going to want to wrestle or do anything besides turn it into a fight of the night type of deal?
Yeah, he'll fight you anywhere. He doesn't just stick into one type of striking, wrestling, or jiu-jitsu mode. He blends them together really well. He's fairly well-rounded. To me, he's top 10. He's been the victim of a few controversial decisions, if you like, but he'll push a good pace for 3 rounds, and he's very dangerous.
Yeah, that's something that you have in common with him. Short end of the decisions is that's something that's going to happen. So, it's been tough, for a little over a year for you right now. You're ready to come back, and it was just the little things. I guess no one's ever really 100%, Mark, but how are you feeling right now? Are you close to 100%?
Oh, absolutely. No pain whatsoever. Body's good. In a way, it's good to just kind of, disconnect a little bit and not take any shots to the head or to the body, and let the body recharge and, really really think about the longevity in the sport and how you approach your training. But this is going to be good. Training's going really well. Looking forward to this one.
Now, I ask you about ring rust, and I guess ring rust can sort of be avoided by who you train with. Now, you went back to Montreal. You're from Toronto, based out of Toronto, but you're in Montreal training with TriStar right now. A lot of gyms, and you know this, you've been around, and you're a gym rat. I remember going to see you at Extreme Couture in Toronto with the kids and stuff. But a lot of the gyms you see on the MMA websites where it's just sort of names. Oh, this guy's there, and that guy's there, and that guy's there. But they're never really there in the gym. And it's not like they're making the other fighters in the gym better, because they're not there. I've heard stories of Anderson Silva, putting up curtains and stuff. And he's not training with everybody. He's in his own little bubble. But over at TriStar, seems like you guys, no egos really. It's all lunch pail, right? With Rick Hahn and Rory McDonald and George St-Pierre before. And you go down the list with Francis Carmel. Just guys that want to go about their business and put a hard day's work in. I guess that's got to be a huge benefit for you as a fighter preparing.
Oh, yeah, and even after this, this layoff, right? I mean, George is still in there every single day, training like everyone else. It's like it's almost like he didn't step away. It's crazy. I mean, there's no egos. Everyone's training together. People have fights coming up, whether they do or don't. There's always people put the ego aside and they just come in and train. If people did that in other areas, I think you'd see the levels rise quicker. But when egos are involved, it's really hard. But here, it's just every day there's really tough guys, but not only that, kind of tough guys that all want to really help each other. Everyone here is so super cool and helpful, and so it makes the training really fun and tough, but fun and comfortable as well.
I imagine it's a lot funner when the guys in the gym are winning, and I'm sure it's kind of been a strange time at TriStar with George St-Pierre stepping aside, and then the Bull Medeski got screwed over as far as the decision was concerned, and then Carmel, tough opponent, goes to Brazil, tough loss. But I imagine the mood will be a little bit brighter right now that Rory got a solid as hell win over the weekend. A big win for him, big win for the gym, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that fight was crazy. I mean, his mental toughness after the first round was, exponentially high. That would have broke a lot of fighters. It was very, very impressive to watch. Maya, as we all know, is super dangerous, but looked like he kind of emptied his clip in that first round, just trying to control him. He was being smart too. Maya wasn't posturing too much like crazy when he got the takedown to try and ground and pound Rory, because had he done that, Rory just would have been right back up to his feet. So maybe not as exciting, but he was controlling him more, and that takes a lot of energy. It's almost like he's flexing his muscles for 5 minutes straight. So now when you're going to try and go strike the next round, your arms are heavy, full of blood, kind of like GSP BJ Penn second part in a way. But Rory, he dug deep, good gas tank, superior striking. Really, really good fight. Even Maya was getting a takedown in the third, and it was close, but Rory got back up. He rocked him. He clearly did more damage. Got the win against the top guy. Very impressive.
It seems like the sky really is the limit for Rory, isn't it, Mark? As far as when he was younger, he was kind of reckless and, classic battle and war with Carlos Condit. And then maybe he got too conservative. And I thought maybe he was thinking too much. And he said, I'm going to sort of go back to my roots. Because it seems like inside there's really an inner killer in this kid. And it seems, I know he's still young, and maybe, the expectations were a little high for his age as he develops. But when I look at him fight, man, I just get the feeling there's just still another couple of levels that he can raise it to that's inside of him, that if he gets to that level, it's going to be damn scary for everybody else.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, like you said, he's still young. He's 24. He's still growing. He's still improving. I mean, a lot of pressure was put on him earlier, but I mean, it's almost crazy to think someone's going to be, world champion at 21. I think John Jones is 21, 22 at the time, and he's an extremely rare exception. Rory's only going to get better, and it's going to be very interesting to see who he fights next. I mean, are they going to give him straight to the title? Is he going to have to do like maybe winner of Condit Woodley, loser of Lawler Hendricks, maybe winner of Shields Lombard? It's going to be interesting, but the way he keeps growing and evolving, I think it's just a matter of time till he will be champ.
Yeah, and probably not all that far off, considering George St-Pierre really carried the Canadian market in a big way. I'm sure the UFC wouldn't mind another Canadian in the mix as well at the top of the food chain.
And performance of the night, right? Nobody, all that. You're a boring fighter. That's kind of gone now, which is good. Which is good for him.
Mike Ricci, I saw you on Twitter. Mike Ricci released, but he's got a big fight. In fact, he's the main event against Jurgel this week. And I saw you on Twitter saying, you know what, he looks pretty damn good. Mike,
yeah, no doubt.
He's got all the physical tools, doesn't he? And I'm not a coach, I'm not a trainer, but I'm here to give my opinion on things. It seems like there's just something little mental block maybe. Maybe he's thinking too much and sort of over-analyzing things instead of just fighting. But guy with a ton of talent, and I hope that he does well this week.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was in the past, I'll be honest, but what I can tell you is this: he did fight Miles Jury. Miles Jury's a tough dude. He was unbeaten. I think he did better against him than most guys. I mean, he did better against him than Michael Johnson, and maybe he got the short end of the stick a little bit. One loss at 55, and then it was gone. Then it was done. In the gym, he's a monster. He's a very technical striker, and I think he's found those elements now where he's going to really translate that into a fight.
Mark,
I figure it'll be maybe this fight or maybe one more match, and then he's back in UFC again.
Mark Bocek with us. So, Mark, before we let you go, and I couldn't help but think of you when I heard about the UFC uniforms. And I know this is a perverse, wrong thought, but I hope they're not going to give you like a T-shirt like Ronda Rousey, UFC tank top uniform rolling out there. What's all this uniform stuff about?
I actually haven't heard anything from UFC about it. It's at the point it seems more like a little rumor than anything. I haven't heard anything from anyone there. We haven't received any emails, so I don't really know what's going to happen. If everyone's going to have to wear uniforms, then everyone's going to kind of be, in unison in a way, almost the same, kind of like Rousey's whole corner, if I recall correctly. But I would think they'll be able to compensate us in other ways along with sponsorship. So they can't just completely close the gap there on that. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. It's so far it's just rumors.
Well, compensation, could be looking pretty good as you take it on a guy that definitely will be bringing it in the octagon. I would ask you, how you can approach the fight and what weaknesses do you see, but I know you're not going to answer me anyways right now, Mark.
To tell you the truth, there's no, with Dunham, there's no huge holes, to tell you the truth. He's pretty solid everywhere. He's been a victim of a few controversial decisions. He's a top 10 guy, no question. I know he's not officially in the rankings, but he beat Tebow. In my opinion, he beat Dos Anjos, and he just didn't show up for Cerrone. He's a top 10 guy.
Well, you know what? Some of those rankings are a bigger joke than some of the Olympic officiating, Mark. Those rankings. Those rankings were just a ploy to make the media feel important. And, it's not like they actually matter when they're...
Yeah, they had to put something out there. We all know they all change from fight to fight.
Yeah. It was just for something for people to talk about. But, hey, Mark, it's great to catch up with you, man. Thanks for joining us before you hit the gym. It's going to be great to see you back in the octagon on April the 16th. Always a pleasure, my man.
Hey, awesome, man. Can I make a quick shout-out to a couple sponsors?
Yeah, do it. Damn right you can.
Cool. Just want to thank Majors Pharmacy, Kleinberg Private Health, Fight Decals, Level 12, Dr. Paul Beyondich, and Corporate Stays.
Hey, Dr. Paul, damn right. Mark, hey, it's always a pleasure, man.
Thanks, Gabe. Appreciate it.
There's Mark Bocek with us. And, good to see Mark back in the cage. A tough spot. We'll find out if ring rust is real. But I guess when you're going up against guys like Rick Hahn and Ricci in the gym every day preparing, it takes a little bit of the rust off. Although it's been a little while since Bocek has been in the cage. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. Thanks to Mark Bocek for joining us. We welcome Robin Black into the studio, the Fight Network's very own Robin Black. And Robin, we just had Mark on the program. A tough fight for his return. The guy's been off for like over a year, nearly a year and a half, Bocek.
Yeah.
We always hear about ring rust, and Evan Dunham is a guy. He's almost turned into what Sam Stout used to be.
Yeah, true.
He wants that fight of the night, and he wants to bleed, and he wants to brawl.
Yeah, he's making money at it. You know, you develop a certain kind of fans that you know, they'll stay with you, and they'll buy your stuff. And it's, you know, if at one time he was perennial top 10, now he's top 10 most entertaining. It's a tougher way to make money, man. But Bocek is so good. People forget how good he is.
So technical, isn't he?
Oh man, he's on another level of a lot of these guys. And the thing is, you can say, oh, you've been off for a year and a half, so maybe there's ring rust. True, but there's also a year and a half worth of new stuff that a guy like Bocek has. A year and a half worth of better strategy and better skills and new tricks. And that I would be more concerned with if I was Dunham.
And how important, and I asked Mark about this, and I said, how important is ring rust or the lack of it? Isn't it all really relative to who you train with? Because he's a TriStar, and if he's working with a Rick Hahn that's going full out. If he's in there, and he said that George St-Pierre is still training, and Rory McDonald's training, it's pretty high level atmosphere in that gym that I imagine can help with the ring rust a little bit.
Oh man, they do so much over there. Like for us, it's so smart, and there's so many things that are intentionally created to get rid of that. One of them is every Saturday night they do their hard sparring. Saturday night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the exact time you'd be doing it.
To build the routine of when you will be fighting.
Exactly.
Right?
They're going in Saturday nights, just
That's
like they'd be doing
point,
in an
Robin,
arena.
Because you know, like football teams from the West Coast, they always lose the early games. Like historically, like 85% of the games. And it's the old, their body clock. Their body clock is out of rhythm.
For sure. And these guys, every Saturday is fight day. Every Saturday for a year. Bocek's going in there Saturday nights, prepared, brings his gear, does his warm-up, fights 5 guys for 5 minutes each. High-level guys. So the only thing you're not familiar with is the crowd. You forget about the crowd, you know, the environment, Bert yelling at you, and you can kind of recreate some of those things. For George, and I'm sure any of the elite TriStar guys, if they're fighting in California, they're training at a certain time that will reflect that. When they go and they'll try to get in there a week early, and they'll start doing their heavy warm-up or their heavy, work output at the time they're going to be fighting. They deal with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, with all the cards in Asia and all over the place right now, it's getting pretty hard.
Yeah, really.
All right, guys.
5:30 in the morning.
I want to see you at 5:45 a.m. In fight mode.
Yeah.
And, I read something interesting, and, I read so much, and all these websites, MMA this and MMA that, and, but, one of the prominent websites said, I'm looking at the upcoming cards, and I don't know who 35% of the fighters are, and that's coming from somebody that covers the sport intently, and I don't think that's a problem. I don't have a problem seeing fresh fighters, Ron, but it is a problem if we don't care about these fighters 6 months from now. Amongst the 35%, is there a John Jones? Is there a Daniel Cormier? Is there a superstar? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah, we started with the 100 best fighters in the world. There was something special about these guys. They either had that mentality to go in there and live this weird lifestyle, or they, were just a dangerous man, or like we were talking about Bocek, just elitely skilled. Now that we get to 400 and 500, you've got gyms full of guys who show up and do the work. They learn the skills. They're pretty good, but you're not going to find this this special kid. And even by that time, you already know who they are. You know which guys by the time they're coming up. And even them, some of you wrong about. The UFC has created a scenario in which the spectacle is what you're paying for.
They're selling the brand.
Yeah, selling the brand. But
I get that. But they're charging people money for this. That's the issue. I don't have a problem. I would sit there and tell people. I used to sit there and tell people, shut up, stop bitching. It's for free. You're watching these free cards. But now, on top of the $100 million a year they get from Fox, on top of the pay-per-view money, on top of the low amount that they actually pay back to the fighters, they want us to pay on Fight Pass for these guys that, let's call it out for what it is, they suck. And let's be honest, this past Saturday night, that's not a pay-per-view worthy. I know that Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana don't care. They're sitting, at the Palace Station in Vegas not caring and going, well, whatever, screw you, because that's the thought. But it used to be, Robin, that they used to say, we're not boxing.
Yeah.
Where they have one main event and everything else sucks and the arena is empty. We have a whole night. We're selling the brand of the UFC. And I think we saw when the John Jones fight, when they had to cancel he wouldn't fight against Sonnen, they canceled the pay-per-view. They had to cancel this because the rest of the card was so damn weak. So they were kind of exposed. So now the other night, with Cummins and Cormier and Rousey and McMahon, let's be honest, is that worth $54, Robin? No. I think we can say no.
Yeah, hard to say. I mean, all of this is a function of the growth of business, right? Like international expansion. Now you got this many shows, this many fighters from other countries. It will water it down. And you're right, if you're going to sell it, hey, we got a top to bottom great card, you got to give a top to bottom great card. It's a whole different game now. The way that they're running their business is an entirely different picture. It's all about expansion. It's all about going to these other territories.
They're like McDonald's, just like sprouting out everywhere.
And ultimately,
but the thing is, they guilt you, Robin, into then. So let's say you rip this card from the other night, and it sucked. All right, let's be honest.
I liked it.
No, I liked it. I enjoyed it. But for the average guy spending $55, he didn't get his money's worth. People were bitching about it. You love this. It's a different.
Yeah, I know. My perspective is
You're in the media.
Yeah, and my perspective.
For the guys that go to the sports bar and travel 6 miles or whatever to go to the sports bar. Yeah. So and then they sort of guilt you. Then the diehards will say, "Well, you're not a real fan. You didn't enjoy Wahlberger and Pyle." And I do. Yeah, I did, and especially since I bet on Mike Pyle. But the point is, Wahlberger and Pyle aren't worth $54 freaking dollars.
You know how I think partly you solve this problem? I really do, is you go back to selling us who these men are. So for one, you go back to trying to help these guys become stars instead of selling the brand.
But they don't want to do that because Dana's the star.
Yeah, true. But two, and I think this is just as important, if not more important, you continue to educate people on the sport. Why do I like this show? Why did I like that card? Why do I like almost every card? Because I'm so interested in what's happening when you put two men in a dangerous situation and you compare their skills. Because I study it and fascinated in the actual pure art of it.
I love the Japanese cards when it's like Japan versus the world and it's totally different styles of guys. That's what's interesting.
But I mean, what my goal as an analyst, I want to do what John Madden did. I want people to learn the sport. I want them to go, oh my God, look how he's fighting in the spot.
They're not going to learn about the sport if they're asked to pay 10 freaking bucks for it.
True.
So the whole thing is, it's in China, so and it's not for the North American fans.
If you want it, pay for it. If you don't,
but
it's
Robin,
for the
when the NFL plays a game in London, they don't tell people, well, if you want to watch the game, it's in London, you got to pay us because it's in London. No. They're already making enough money. The Fight Pass was a nice little tool here for the diehards, the MMA geeks, the bettors that I want to do some research on this guy. I want to watch the library. And ultimately, that's what it wasn't about. The Fight Pass was a scam to get people to have to pay for crappy fights that used to be on Facebook. Ultimately, that's what it's come down to. And speaking of scams, this Ronda Rousey run is the biggest scam being perpetrated on mankind since Bill Goldberg's 56-0 run on Saturday night, WCW. Now, this is like Ronda Rousey's being rolled out like Goldberg. All that's missing is Rousey. Every Saturday night, let's see Ronda destroy another woman that has no business being in the octagon with her. This is not a fault of Ronda Rousey.
No.
Because Cyborg isn't there. But isn't it obvious that Dana is protecting the Golden Girl from the monster that is Cyborg, because Cyborg will take her freaking head off, and then they're going to lose one of their few remaining cash cows that they have left right now in Ronda Rousey. And you can say Ronda's great, and it's not her fault. She's smashing the competition.
Yeah.
I want to hear Ronda say, enough of you, Cyborg. Screw you. Bring it on, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately think she will, because she's got that really orneriness to her. Like, she wants to go in and crush these people. She believes without a shadow of a doubt she'd beat Cyborg. And the only thing I disagree with...
Does she?
I think she does. I think she believes she'll beat any man or woman or child. Like, and
clearly Dana White has told her not to talk about her. And there was people that were sending me tweets saying you could see Dana reach in the other night and say no Cyborg talk.
It's an interesting one
because you don't want to call out someone that's not in the company. It gives them marketing value.
Although I agree with you that it's not there yet, I disagree that they don't want it, because they know it's big. They know that's a big fight. What if she loses? Then you get a second fight. They want that money.
Not if she loses so bad like Carano did and runs off to do Hollywood crappy movies that they have to put other people's voices on. How are you an actress? I don't get that. How are you an actress if you're so bad they need to use somebody else's voice?
And where was that?
Like Gina Carano, like they gotta alter her voice.
So pretty though. She's so hot. Like, and really that's what you're selling.
So are porn actresses, Robin. You know what I mean?
Rousey, on the other hand, the word is she went and she shot these movies, and even before they were done, people doing the editing and work are calling people going, no, this chick can act. Like, this chick is for real. That's why she's got movies.
Sure, she's acting. She's selling us this crap every Saturday.
I don't know, man. I think her
she's great.
Cyborg.
No, I think Ronda's great. I don't want people to think I'm anti-Ronda Rousey.
No,
she's freaking awesome. But the elephant in the room, I'm sick of hearing Goldberg and I'm sick of hearing Anna tell us, these are the two best women fighters in the world. You know, Tate, the best. She lost to Zingano. She's not even in the top 3 right now, all right? She's not the top. You want the top, then put Cyborg in there. But I think Dana knows that Ronda will lose to Cyborg, and then the cash cow's over.
Yeah, I see it more like when Tito Ortiz was involved in that thing, and Tito's a problem for Dana White. Like, Tito's a big problem. And here, we like Tito, but Tito overvalued her. He valued her what he believed fighters should be worth, not what they're worth. So he's going into it thinking, oh, we want 800 grand, I want pay-per-view, title versus title. They're like, she's not even a title. Like, I think he was offended so much by that process that now it's like, she's got to make weight, she's got to do this, she's got to understand. She's like, the reason he's not selling it is because he doesn't want to create this hype that everybody needs to see her fight this monster, and then he's got to go pay her a ton.
Exactly.
I think it's more like, this fight could happen, but we don't want you to think we need you. Let's make the deal, because that is a really great fight, and Ronda has no doubt she'll beat this girl. You just take one look at the way she performs, the way she acts. She is fearless. You'd fight her tomorrow.
Yeah, but you know, it's about Cyborg's health, according to Dana White. He's worried about Cyborg's health. Now, Dana White said, this is why, to me, this is just damn proof that they're sheltering Rousey from Cyborg, because Cyborg finally she says before, I can't go to 135. Yeah. It's going to be unhealthy for me. The doctor said I can't do it.
Which is ridiculous.
Which was a ridiculous, yes. Okay, so that was a ridiculous statement. So we got ridiculous statements coming from everywhere. Okay, so she couldn't go because of, okay, Robin, so if that was ridiculous, doesn't it make it doubly ridiculous?
Then now she can do it?
The Dana White now says that Cyborg says, all right, I'll come to 135. I want to fight Rousey. The Dana White says, no, she's got to prove herself at 135 and fight a couple of times and show that she's healthy, because we're concerned about our fighters' freaking health. Like, how can he say that with a straight face? And how can all you MMA media freaking suck-ups, how can you suck-ups sit there and not laugh out loud like you're at a Red Fox show? The Dana White's concerned about Cyborg Santos' freaking safety? Are you kidding me, man?
You're on fire today, man. I like it. I don't know. Like, I think it's just a game of devaluing her a little bit so you can make a better deal. Because that's a fight I think if you're a promoter, ultimately, you gotta have that fight. I mean, I wouldn't call it, somebody called it Beauty and the Beast, which I think was a little rude to Soundboard, right? You know? But it's a fight you need to make. So if you're a promoter,
Beauty and the Beast, it's all Ronda. She's beautiful and a beast.
Yeah,
exactly. She's the beauty and the beast.
She's both. But you need, as a promoter, you need that fight. You've got arguably one of your biggest stars against something that's no trouble selling. You just show one photo of that woman and you're selling that fight. So you know they want it. I think it's more, not that they want to protect her, it's a game of let's make her not believe that we need her, or else we got to pay her like crazy. Let's make a low-level deal with her, make her think she's not important, and then we'll hype her.
Then it's up to us. Then it's up to the fans to demand this and say, you know what? Enough of this crap, and let's get to it. They're trying to buy some time and make some money off of Ronda Rousey, and hey,
that's the business.
That's good business too. That's right. That's the business. All right. So we got about a minute left here. I got all fired up today. Fired up today, Robin. And I will be fired up on the Fantasy Sports Network as well. This is going to be way cool. Anthem Media Group, the people that bring you this fine network, amongst others, launching a fantasy sports network. And I know a ton of you guys out there, you're not just fight fans, you are sport fans. But the guys over at Countermove, they've been the first ones. People have tried, but it looks like Countermove are the first successful people that have nailed down fantasy MMA, and we're going to be doing a daily fantasy, prop type show, numbers, bets, picks, everything else in between. But Robin's going to be joining us before every big pay-per-view, and we're going to get involved, and we're going to get you guys involved. We're going to have our own tournament like Crooklyn does and Tommy Toehold does on countermove.com, and it's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of look at it from that angle instead of just breaking it down from pure sport perspective. I'm sucking you into my world, Robin. I know. Next thing I'm all about the gambling. Like Robin's about the tactical stuff. I'm about speaking to the manager. What? Yeah, he broke up with his girlfriend. All right, I'm betting against him. Like Robin's about slowing it down and stuff. But now I'm sucking you in to like getting closer. It's gonna be fun. 6 months from now, you're gonna be laying $500 a fight. No, it's gonna be a lot of fun though. We gotta get these Countermove guys to give us some prizes and stuff too, kind of like sponsor us a bit. Yeah, and probably some instructions to tell us what the hell we're doing. We gotta figure this thing out. We'll figure it out with the audience. Exactly. Yeah, Robin Black, check him out on 5 Rounds. It's great stuff. MMA Meltdown and the Fight Network continue. All right, let's get to our videos of the week. It's MMA Meltdown. Now, we've got the UFC China this week, and a lot of you don't know who these fighters are, but we've got some exclusive tape of one of the kids that's going to be on the Fight Pass portion of the card. He looks pretty young, but he's got great hands. Look at the spinning roundhouse. He's got a spinning back fist coming up here that's just awesome. Oh! Seriously smooth little spinning back fist and kicks. Great job by this kid. And in all seriousness, you look at the soccer leagues in England and Brazil and Italy, etc. They're signing kids at about 9, 10 years old right now. They see a kid kicking a rock in Brazil and they know he's got skill. They keep their eye on him. College basketball teams now, they're now scouting basically 12-year-old kids, in little basketball leagues. College football teams are paying attention to Pop Warner. At what point, if you're a mixed martial artist or even better, a sleazy MMA agent, you start paying attention to these kids and start tracking these kids, because seriously, that kid looked pretty damn fluid, and if this kid keeps that up for the next 15 years, he's going to be a freaking monster. Don't forget, John Jones knew nothing about MMA. He learned everything from watching videos on YouTube. Evidently, this woman hasn't learned anything from watching videos on YouTube, because everybody knows you don't deadlift while wearing heels.
All right.
Keep your eye on her ankle. Oh, God!
Oh, that was my fault.
I gotta be honest, I've got real thick skin and I've never been grossed out by any of the videos we've ever shown before. You hear her ankle snap. Snap. Man, that was rough. Like, it was, I could watch it over and over again and it would still freak me out. And I could watch this next video over and over again and it'll still kind of freak me out. Now we heard Mark Bocek earlier say at the top of the program that it's really hard, flexing your muscles for 5 minutes in a first round like Maya did, extenuating yourself. We see a guy's got someone in a choke and he can't do it, and then he's gassed after the fact. Well, evidently, if you flex too hard, you pass out, as this gentleman did.
Oh, wow.
What the
How gross is that?
Why do you have so much veins? Something wrong with him.
What the He actually just... No, he's fine. Stop, Joe.
I'm buzzing like a bitch right now.
Jay! You definitely concussed. What the
I don't know who's stupider, the kid that passed out or his dumbass slacker buddies that are just sitting there like Beavis and Butthead. he's all right. That's, and we wonder why the American educational system is lagging behind Asia. Who knows why? MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. It's time to send it to Costa Rica, where the premier combat sport odds maker in the business, Joey Odessa, awaits us. Joey, it's always a pleasure, my man. How you doing?
What's up, G? Busy week this week.
I tell you what, Joey, and with the Olympics that just wrapped up, went on for the past 17 days. Man, I've been getting less sleep than a cokehead, Joey. I've been watching all these events, and I'm a psychopath. I've been betting on snowboard cross at 5 a.m., and I've been betting on cross-country skiing, and then I got into the Hong Kong Soccer League the other night, and then the gold medal Olympic hockey game at 6 a.m., the pregame show, Joey. So I've already trained. I'm ready to go for the China card that starts at about 5:45 Eastern time.
Yeah, 6 a.m. in the morning. You get a nice head start there. It's actually a good card. I like these cards like this because nobody really studies for them and nobody wakes up. Well, not nobody, but you have an entirely different market betting into them, and you tend to find quite a few winners on the card.
Yeah, well, nobody wakes up for them because nobody knows who the hell they are, Joey, for the most part, or at least the guys on the Fight Pass, but they're all on the Fight Pass this week. Yet it is kind of an intriguing card in China, actually. There are a couple of, fights. Hathaway, Dong Young Kim. Hathaway only with that one loss to the crafty vet and Mike Pyle that both you and I loved last week. Only one loss there, taking on a Dong Young Kim that broke Eric Silva's dreams in Brazil. Dong Young Kim's a badass fighter, man.
Yeah, he's about a 4-1 favorite right now. I saw a couple play. Well, right now I don't know exactly what the number is at the time of this airing, but he was as high as about a 4-1 favorite. I saw a low of about 220. I tell you, I think
I think 4-1 is probably about the right number on him. I mean, Hathaway's coming off a few wins. You know, he had that one loss to Pyle, who redeemed himself this week. And you look backwards, you know, Kim going into Maya, you know, he got that rib injury, which upset me, made me think that maybe he wouldn't have lost that fight. Before that, his only loss was to Carlos Condit. So you got a pretty tight card here. I'm surprised they're throwing the 7th. I mean, they're really throwing Hathaway. I don't want to say they're throwing him to the wolves over there, but you know, he's a road dog, and he's traveling 4-1 for a 17-1 fighter. That's a pretty steep price, but at the same time, makes you look at Kim and say, you know what, he's probably, you know, he's 4-1 for a reason.
Joe, I mentioned Mike Pyle, and there are a lot of industry types that liked Wahlberger for one reason or another, a lot. And I was talking to some people in Vegas, and they said, Pyle got beat up pretty good against Brown. He's not going to be the same. He's kind of at the end of the line. And, you know, come on, man. I don't know what it is and why people just don't give Mike Pyle his due, but the guy's a monster in there. You know, his only loss in about 7 fights now, Joey, is to Matt Brown. And I'm so sick and tired of people saying, oh, well, look at Matt Brown. The guy's got 11 losses. Matt Brown's a killer right now. Look at what Robbie Lawler's doing. You and I talk about these crafty vets. Is Mike Pyle going to make a run at the championship? No, but my money will be on Mike Pyle 90% of the time, Joey.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, they don't care, you know, these titles, there can only be one champ. So you got to, you know, just like the NFL, it doesn't make everybody else insignificant. So these guys, a lot of these UFC fans, they complain about it. Oh, the champ this, the champ that, or this guy doesn't get a title shot. Well, damn, there's some pretty good fights out there. I'd rather watch some of these lower, you know, not lower level fights, but, you know, like a Rory McDonald. I like watching Mike Pyle fight. I mean, you talked about Matt Brown. Jesus, he's got 11 losses, but who doesn't? I mean, you're talking about fighters that, you know, I had this debate back when, you know, when everybody was about the same or people were just developing. Now, you know, they put these guys in there and they're matching them up well. You know, there's some easy fights on some of these, you know, I don't want to say easy. I mean, in hindsight, they're easy on some of these fight passes and early, you know, early prelims. But still, you don't see guys getting built up like in boxing where they go out there against a guy with a, you know, total stiffs, because they don't exist in MMA. I mean, truthfully, we would look at a guy like Wonder Boy, who fought last week, and say, well, you know, he's one-dimensional, he's a stand-up fighter, he's got no shot in the UFC. Well, this kid's kicking a little bit of, you know, he's kicking some ass over there now. And now he's not, look, let's face it, he's never going to be a champion, he's never going to be UFC champ, but he's going to be a guy that you can use as a good measuring stick.
Joey Odessa with us. So, Joey, we've got the Chinese card, and this is why we tell you guys every week out there, for the hardcore gamblers amongst you, we get more into detail and we blast through every fight on the Sirius XM radio show, MMA Meltdown Radio, presented by the Fight Network, channel 167 with Joey. But we've got Bellator returning to the mix, and one of your favorite fighters in King Mo back in the rotation. And Bellator, you know, comes at the short end of the stick once again, Joey, like you knew they would, as the UFC matches the offer. Gil Melendez will be staying with Zuffa, but we got Rampage and Mabumba, and we've got King Mo and Zayats this week, Joe. And you know Bellator is just dying to get King Mo and Jackson in there together.
Well, I can't imagine what they paid for Jackson versus Tito. You know, I don't keep track of them or what they paid to get Jackson into this tournament. You know, he came out, they threw him Joey Beltran. I mean, you know, but look, let's take nothing away from Joey Beltran. Beltran's tough. You know, there's another guy he's got close to 12 losses, but he's a good measuring stick. You know, should he have been a measuring stick for Quentin Jackson? Probably not. I mean, Rampage's been around forever, but at the same time, maybe he's at that point where, you know, he's been around forever, so he's at the end of his run and he's making some cash. King Mo, on the other hand, had a couple flips, you know, ups and downs, you know, disappointment in his loss in the tournament last year, and that one freaking KO, you know, I don't know if it was counted as a KO or a submission loss, but, you know, he put that in the rearview mirror. I tell you what, I hope that, I think Mo's got the tougher the draw here against Zayats. I think he's capable of beating him, though. But at the same time, you know, Jackson, he's so, you know, I don't know. I think that Jackson, you know, just from looking at on the outside, he's a risky sign, and especially in these tournaments. Because, I mean, he seems to get hurt all the time, and heck, he hasn't won in the UFC in, 3-4 years? I mean, and he got beat by, he got beat by wrestlers. Well, John Jones, you don't want to say he's a wrestler, and Glover wasn't a wrestler, but Bader, and then he was upset about it. I want to see Mo fight Jackson. I'd like to see Mo get the win over him, obviously. In the end of the tournament final, it's only a 4-man as opposed to their normal 8-man. But I think it's I think it's chalk. I think it's Jackson and King Mo are supposed to get there. I mean, that's who they want to get there.
Joey Odessa. You can follow Joey on Twitter at MMA Odds. So, Joey, I guess I'll let you get some rest. It's going to be a busy weekend and a busy time of the year right now, especially with Bellator back in the mix. And we got Mike Ricci. I was talking to Mark Bocek earlier. Ricci, Gurgel this weekend as well, Joey. Really busy weekend coming up.
Yeah, it's a Titan, right? They're headlining a Titan. Mike Ricci and Jorge Gurgel, both former UFC guys, both former Ultimate Fighter guys, Ultimate Fighter show guys that I would say nobody would probably really know much about him outside of Canada, Ricci, and outside of, the UFC, I guess Gurgel's wife, Zola, she made some waves in Bellator by beating Fuji.
Yeah, and Ricci was on the Ultimate Fighter, so people know who he is. I mean, hell, they're the main event, so people better know who they are, Joey. But we'll hit that up on the podcast and on the radio show. Thanks for joining us, Joey. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, have a good one, Jake.
There's Joey Odessa with us. And, we apologize to the viewers. We couldn't get into some of the numbers that we normally do on this show due to construction going on at the studio. We shot this show a little bit earlier than we normally do, but we'll get back to the number crunching next week on MMA Meltdown. Thanks to all of our guests for joining us this evening. Mark Bocek, Joey Odessa, and Robin Black. And for all you Ronda Rousey fans out there, before you start sending the hate mail, I like Ronda. I am a fan. I just want to see her get in there with Cyborg Santos. So we really do have the 2 best women fighters in the world throwing it down. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.